A faint signal crossed the stars. It was weak, almost broken, but it carried enough structure to be recognized as a distress call. Across the galactic network, stations picked it up and began whispering the same question. Who had sent it? Coordinates pointed toward a forbidden sector, one the galaxy had marked in red centuries ago. Few ever spoke its name aloud. To some it was just empty space. To others it was something worse. The old records gave it one title, only Sector Sol. The message was strange. It asked for help, but not in the standard code used by the Council. The words were rough, harsh, like claws scraping against metal. Commanders argued in high towers. Should anyone answer it? Should the signal be ignored, left to fade into nothing? Many species still remembered the warnings. Do not go near the death world. Do not go near the humans. But curiosity is stronger than fear. One mid-sized rescue fleet made of 3 species working together decided to investigate. They told themselves it was a duty. A distress call could not be ignored. If another civilization was in danger, they had to know. Yet deep inside, many among them wanted only to confirm the rumors. Were the Deathworlders real? Were they truly as dangerous as the stories claimed? The fleet's journey began with silence. Their sensors stretched far, but space around the sector was strangely empty. No trade routes, no colonies, no stations. Only drifting rocks and the cold light of a yellow star. The distress signal pulsed faintly, repeating again and again, pulling them closer. At first it sounded like desperation. But soon, some of the crew felt something else in the rhythm of it. It did not feel like a cry for help. It felt like bait. Inside the command ship, Admiral Sarek of the Valari watched the signal repeat on the screen. His scales shifted darker. With unease, something is wrong, he muttered. The others heard him, but no one wanted to admit they felt the same. A young officer from the Talon species asked, Admiral, should we turn back? Sarek shook his head. Not yet. We came. To see, we will see. The deeper they went, the stranger the readings became. Their ships could no longer map the system correctly. Shadows appeared on sensors, only to vanish seconds later. Interference crackled through their communications. Every calculation showed the same result. The signal was pulling them directly toward the third planet of the star, the planet humans once called Earth. As the fleet slowed near the edge of the system, they saw the first sign. A satellite, small and ancient, drifted silently in orbit. It was primitive, nothing more than metal and solar panels, yet it was still alive. When their scanners touched it, the satellite woke, turning its eye toward them. It sent out a burst of code none of them could read. More satellites began to stir. Objects that should have been dead centuries ago suddenly rotated, realigned and whispered in languages unknown to the galaxy. The alien crews grew restless. These machines were not random debris, they were watchers. Admiral Sarek tightened. His claws around the edge of his chair. This world is not silent, it is listening. His words sank into every heart on the bridge. The distress signal grew stronger now, almost deafening. Yet its origin point was not from Earth itself. It seemed to echo from behind the planet, as if something hid in the shadow, waiting for them to come closer. The commanders of the rescue fleet gathered through HoloLink, their faces pale. One asked, Admiral, what do you see? Sarek did not answer at once. His eyes locked on the planet below, where faint lines of light began to glimmer across. The continents. The planet should have been dark, abandoned, yet something was moving on its surface. Lights in the shape of cities, power grids sparking to life. For a place the galaxy believed was dead, Earth looked strangely awake. Fear spread through the fleet. Some officers begged to retreat. Others insisted they had come to Far Riff. They left now. They would never know the truth. Finally, Sarek gave the order. Hold position. It will not flee from shadows. But even as he spoke, the shadows answered. From behind the curve of the planet, enormous shapes emerged. At first they thought it was wreckage. Then the wreckage moved. Black holes, scarred and old, drifted into the light of the star. They were ships, but not like any the fleet had seen before. Their design was brutal, built for survival rather than beauty. Every surface carried scars of ancient wars. Weapons that should not exist still glowed faintly on their sides. The alien crews froze in silence. These ships were not the origin of the distress call. They were the answer to it. One by one, their comm systems lit up. A voice cut through every channel, sharp and cold. Speaking in a language translated by no machine yet understood by instinct, you heard the call. You came, now you cannot leave. The fleet trembled. Some tried to open warp drives, but the space around them bent strangely, as if invisible nets had closed in. Their engines refused to respond. The trap was sprung. Admiral Sarek forced his voice steady. Identify yourself. Who are you? The answer came with silence, then a low echo like distant thunder. Deathworlders. The word was enough to send shivers across every deck. For centuries, the galaxy had whispered of them humans, the cursed species that survived where no one else could. Worlds too hot, too cold, too toxic humans lived there. Wars too long, too cruel, too bloody humans won them. When the Council marked Earth as forbidden, it was not because the world was dead. It was because the world was too alive. Now the fleet realized the truth. The distress signal had never been a plea. It had been a lure. Something had wanted them. Here, whether it was humans or something worse, they did not yet know. But the trap was closed. The black ships drifted closer, their weapons charging silently. On every bridge, fear turned into dread. The aliens came to help. They thought they were rescuers. But what waited for them was not gratitude. What waited for them was the Deathworlders. The alien fleet hung frozen above the strange world. Their engines were still running, but none of them dared move. The black ships that had emerged from the planet's shadow watched them in silence. No signals, no warnings, no negotiations. Just the silent weight of hunters measuring their prey. Admiral Sarek felt his chest tighten. His scales burned cold as he looked at the display. Those ships should not exist. Their armor was layered with metals the galaxy had long abandoned, and yet they carried themselves with a kind of menace that no modern warship could copy. They looked alive, like predators floating in the dark. One of the younger captains whispered through the "Come, Admiral." "What are they waiting for?" Sarek did not answer. He knew the truth. Predators waited when they were not afraid of their prey. Then, something else began to stir. The satellites that had awakened earlier now shifted in strange patterns. First, they looked like random movements, but soon the crews realized they were aligning. Hundreds of tiny machines adjusted their orbits together, forming invisible nets around the fleet. Lines of invisible code passed between them, too fast. "To intercept jamming field," Sarek muttered. His claws tapped the edge of his chair. The fleet was trapped inside a cage made from ancient human technology. It looked simple, even primitive, but none of their most advanced systems could break through. Every attempt to open a jump drive failed instantly. The rescue fleet was locked inside a prison of old satellites, and then the world below them lit up across the continents of Earth. Points of light flickered one by one. They formed patterns, long stretches of power grids, clusters that looked like cities hidden under the planet's clouds. For centuries, the galaxy believed this planet was abandoned, a wasteland no species could inhabit for long. But now, life returned in bursts of light. Whole regions glowed as if the planet itself had awakened from a long sleep. The alien officers on the bridge felt their throats dry. "It is not dead," one whispered. "The death world is alive." The signal that had lured them here suddenly changed. It no longer repeated the same broken cry. It shifted, growing stronger, deeper. This time, the message was clear enough for even their computers to translate. It was not a plea for help. It was a warning. You came when you should not have come. The bridge fell silent. No one spoke. Even Admiral Sarek felt his chest grow heavier with every passing second. These were not the words of victims. They were the words of masters who had laid a trap and were watching it close. Suddenly, alarms screamed across the alien ships. Massive structures hidden beneath the oceans of Earth began to rise. First, The scanners picked up strange spikes of energy. Then, their eyes saw huge towers breaking through the waves. Steel and stone dripping with water, covered in barnacles and rust. They had been sleeping for centuries. But now, they were alive again. Weapons, entire batteries of them, rising from the ocean floor. The alien captains began to panic. "We cannot fight this. We must escape." But their engines still refused to respond. Every attempt to fire on the satellites failed, their weapon systems locked, jammed by codes they could not overwrite. "Admiral," said one of the Talon officers, her voice shaking, "we came to help. Why are they doing this?" Sarek closed his eyes for a moment. He remembered the old warnings, the ancient whispers. Humans were not like other species. They did not wait for rescue. They did not beg for mercy. If they sent a signal, it was never out of weakness. It was always out of design. And then the humans revealed themselves. From the surface of the planet, ships began to rise. At first they looked like debris, old wrecks carried upward by some accident. But when the sunlight hit them, their true form appeared. Warships brutal, jagged, enormous. They carried no sleek beauty, no polish. They were ugly things, built only to kill. The alien fleet gasped as the first of them broke through the atmosphere, its engines glowing like burning suns. Then came another and another. A whole formation of human warships ascended into the black sky. Forming a wall in front of the alien fleet, Admiral Sarek whispered the word he had hoped never to speak: Deathworlders. The comm systems burst alive again. Voice filled every channel, hard and cold. This time the translation was clear, as if the humans wanted their words to be understood. "You answered the call. Now you will witness why it was sent." The alien crews trembled. They had thought the signal came from survivors begging for aid, but no, the signal had been bait for something else, something behind the humans, something darker. Because at that moment, the sensors picked up another presence. Behind the alien fleet, far in the blackness, something stirred. Huge signatures. Moving fast, closing in, shapes that did not belong to humans, or to any species the fleet recognized. Predators, dozens of ships, monstrous and alien, closing the trap from the other side. Their forms were jagged, their hulls alive with crawling lights. They were the true senders of the distress call of the monsters who had been waiting for prey to answer. The aliens panicked. Trapped between two nightmares, Deathworlders on one side, unknown predators on the other, Admiral Sarek stood tall, his claws digging into the steel of his chair. His voice was firm, though his heart pounded. "So this is the truth. The humans did not call us. The predators called us. And the humans have come to answer." On the screen, human warships spread their wings of fire. Their engines roared, their weapons charged. They were not running. They were not hiding. They were preparing to fight. And for the first time, the alien fleet understood something terrifying. The humans were not prey. The humans were not victims. They were hunters who had been waiting in silence, hiding their claws until the right moment. The predators closed in from behind, ready to feast on the alien fleet. But the humans turned their guns toward the darkness, not at the aliens. They were aiming at the true enemy. The voice returned one last time, steady and sharp. "Stay where you are. Watch and remember. This is what it means to answer a call on a death world." And then the first human ship fired. The shot from the human warship cut across the void like a blade of light. It struck one of the approaching predator vessels, tearing through its armor as if it were made of paper. The explosion lit the darkness, casting shadows across the alien fleet. For a heartbeat, everything was silent. Then the predators roared back. Dozens of their ships surged forward. Their hulls twisted unnaturally, like living things reshaping themselves in space. Strange weapons opened fire, beams that bent like snakes, claws of energy that ripped apart space around them. The alien fleet trembled, caught in the middle of two forces beyond their understanding, but the humans did not hesitate. Their ships moved with brutal precision, turning as one, firing in volleys that struck the predators again and again. Their weapons were not elegant. They were not advanced by galactic standards. Yet they carried a raw, terrifying power. Each shot was designed not just to wound, but to kill completely. Admiral Sarek's crew stared at the unfolding chaos. Predators were monsters, unlike anything the galaxy had catalogued. Their ships looked more like beasts than machines, and yet the humans fought them without fear. They did not retreat. They did not break. They hunted. One young officer whispered, they knew. They knew these things were here. Sarek kept his gaze on the battle. Yes, that is why they waited. That is why they sent no message to the galaxy. They have been preparing for this. The predators turned their attention to the humans, surrounding them in a circle of fire.
Ow.
Their weapons slammed against human shields, shaking entire warships, ripping through metal. But even as human ships burned, they did not fall alone. Every predator that struck them was destroyed in return. Humanity fought like a cornered beast that refused to die quietly. The alien fleet wanted to escape. They wanted to flee far away from this nightmare. They were trapped in the satellite net, powerless, forced to watch. And as they watched, they began to realize something. This was not a rescue. This was not even a battle. This was a war that had been waiting for centuries. The predators shrieked across the coms, their voices sharp and alien. The translators failed to understand them, giving only fragments of broken meaning. Words like consume, harvest, hive. These were not conquerors. They were devourers. They had come to feed on civilizations, but the humans had come to kill them. More human ships rose from Earth, breaking through clouds, climbing into orbit. Some looked old, ancient hulks reforged into weapons. Others gleamed with new armor, bristling with strange energy cannons. Together, they formed a line, a wall of steel between Earth and the predators. Admiral Sarak finally spoke, his voice heavy. They are not fighting for survival. They are fighting because this is their world, and no predator takes from a death world. One of the younger alien captains shook his head in disbelief. But why reveal themselves now? Why not hide forever? Sarek's eyes narrowed because the predators forced their hand. And now, the galaxy will learn what humans truly are. The battle grew louder. Explosions tore through the darkness. Predator ships split apart under human guns, their bodies writhing, as if in pain. Human ships cracked under the weight of alien fire. But even burning, they kept fighting, ramming into predators, tearing them apart at close range. It was not war as the galaxy knew it. It was savagery. It was survival. On one alien ship, a Talon. Officer covered his face, unable to watch. They are mad, he whispered. They fight like they want to die. Another officer beside him shook her head. No, they fight like they cannot imagine losing. And then came the moment that silenced all doubt. The largest predator ship, a vast fortress bristling with weapons, turned its guns on Earth itself. Its beams began to cut through the planet's atmosphere, preparing to burn cities and oceans alike. But before the beams could strike, the clouds below split open. From the sky rose something massive. It's larger than any of the other human ships, older, darker. Its hull was blackened with scars, patched with layers of metal from wars long past. It moved slowly, but with unstoppable force, like a beast older than time itself. The alien fleet gasped. Even Admiral Sarak felt his chest seize with awe. That is not a ship, he whispered. That is a weapon. The giant human vessel locked onto the Predator fortress. Its engines glowed, its guns charged. And then it fired. The blast was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. A beam of pure energy lanced forward, striking the Predator fortress directly. In its core, the explosion lit up the system, brighter than the star itself. Fragments of the Predator ship scattered in every direction, burning as they fell toward Earth's atmosphere. Silence followed. For a moment, even the Predators hesitated. The alien fleet stared in shock. That one shot had ended a fortress that should have been invincible. The human ship spoke then, its voice carrying across every channel. It was deep, calm, almost cold. "This is Earth. The hunt begins." The predators shrieked in fury, launching themselves at the humans with renewed rage. But now the balance had shifted. The humans had shown their strength. They had shown they were not prey. They were predators too. The alien fleet trembled as they realized the truth. This battle was not only for Earth. It was the beginning of something greater. Humanity was not just defending its world, they were stepping into the galaxy once more, revealing claws the galaxy had long forgotten. And the predators, the devourers, had made the mistake of waking them. The battle raged on, fire against fire, predator against predator. But in the hearts of the alien witnesses, one thought grew louder with every explosion. The galaxy will never be the same again. The predators swarmed like a storm of shadows, their ships twisting unnaturally as they closed around the humans. There, weapons cut through space, tearing into steel, burning through shields. Yet the humans did not scatter. They did not retreat. They moved like wolves, circling tighter, locking their formation until they became a single machine of war. Admiral Sarek had seen battles before. He had seen fleets break under smaller threats, commanders begging for retreat, ships fleeing at the first sign of defeat. But here, in front of him, the humans fought like nothing he had ever known. Even as their ships burned, even as some were torn apart, the formation held. Each human vessel protected the others. Taking hits meant. For their pack, it was not war. It was instinct. One human frigate, its hull torn open and leaking fire, did not pull back. Instead, it hurled itself directly into a predator cruiser, engines flaring. The two ships collided, the explosion tearing through both, scattering burning debris across the void. From the alien fleet, gasps filled the coms. Who would sacrifice themselves so willingly? But Admiral Sarek understood. They did not fight to survive, he whispered. They fight to kill. The predators shrieked across the channels, their alien voices like knives against metal. The galaxy had never understood their tongue. But now, even without translation, their rage was clear. They were creatures of hunger, furious at being denied their feast. They struck harder, trying to break the humans. And then the Deathworlders answered. A second wave of human ships rose. From Earth, these were different from the first. Sleeker, newer, but carrying the same brutal spirit. Their weapons hummed with energy the alien fleet did not recognize. They formed alongside the older, scarred warships, like children standing beside their ancestors. Together, they charged. The sky lit with fire. Predator ships exploded one by one, their bodies twisting as they died. But the humans did not cheer. They did not slow. They pressed forward with cold, relentless force, as if they had trained their whole lives for this very moment. The alien fleet could only watch. They were trapped, powerless, but their eyes saw everything. And with every passing second, they realized more clearly why the galaxy had feared Earth for so long. The Talon captain on one ship finally broke the silence. Admiral, they are monsters. Look at them. They throw away their lives. They fight. Like madmen, Sarek turned his eyes on her. His voice was sharp. No, they fight like Deathworlders. They were born on a planet that tried to kill them every day. Their storms drown, their beasts devour, their sicknesses rot flesh. Only the strongest survived. Do you not see? War is nothing new to them. It is only another storm. The words sank deep. The younger officers fell silent, their fear mixing with awe. They had come to mock, to confirm the old myths. Instead, they were witnessing the truth. The humans were not cursed. They were sharpened. And then came the betrayal. Among the alien fleet, one commander broke away from the silent watchers. His ship sent a pulse of light, a signal, directed not at the humans, but at the predators. Admiral Sarek's blood froze. What have you done? He roared across the coms. But the traitor did not answer. Instead, his transmission continued, broadcasting human fleet positions, weapons, fire patterns, and shield frequencies to the predators. The predators shrieked in triumph, their attacks suddenly more focused, more deadly. Human ships began to take heavier losses. One destroyer was torn apart instantly, another exploded under a rain of alien fire. The alien fleet erupted into chaos. Officers screamed, demanding answers, demanding the betrayer be stopped. But Sarek knew the damage was already done, and yet the humans reacted with terrifying speed. Without hesitation, one massive human warship turned away from the predators. Its guns shifted, locking not on the enemy, but on the alien trader's ship. Before anyone could shout, before anyone could beg, the human vessel fired. The trader's ship exploded in a single strike, shattered into 1,000 burning pieces. The humans did not send a warning. They did not speak, they only destroyed. The alien fleet froze, horrified. Sarek's claws tightened. He understood. Humans had seen the betrayal instantly, and to them, betrayal was worse than any enemy. For a moment, the bridge of every alien ship was silent. No one dared speak. They all knew what the humans had just declared without words. Allies may be forgiven. Enemies may be killed, but traitors are erased completely. The predators surged again, but this time the humans seemed even more enraged. Their formation tightened further, their shots more precise, their counterattacks brutal. One predator ship tried to flank them. 3 human warships broke formation, cutting across its path, tearing it apart with combined fire. Another predator dreadnought unleashed a storm of energy beams. Humans endured the blasts, then rammed straight into its heart, splitting it in half. The alien fleet trembled. This was not just war. This was wrath. And yet, in the midst of the fire and death, something else became clear. The humans were not only fighting for themselves, they had positioned their wall of ships between Earth and the predators, but also between the alien fleet and the predators. They were protecting the very witnesses who had come. Uninvited, Admiral Sarek felt his chest ache. "They protect us," he whispered. "Even though one of us betrayed them, even though they owe us nothing." The truth hit him hard. These were not mindless killers. These were hunters with rules, predators with honor, and as the battle raged on, Sarek realized something even more terrifying. The humans were only just beginning to show. Their strength, the predators still swarmed. Earth still burned below. The satellites still caged the fleet in silence. But in the cold eyes of the humans, Sarek saw no fear, only patience. Only fury waiting to be unleashed fully, and he understood at last why the galaxy had called them Deathworlders, not because they were cursed, not because they were doomed, but because they carried death with them wherever they went. And tonight, death belonged to their enemies. The battlefield in orbit was silent now. Wrecks of alien ships drifted like broken bones, metal husks reflecting the dim light of the dying star. Smoke and debris floated in the vacuum, pieces of hull and shattered weapons scattered everywhere. For the survivors, the silence was worse than the battle itself. It was the kind of silence that whispered of things yet to come. On the command ship of the alien rescue fleet, Captain Sareth sat frozen in his chair. His 4 eyes were wide with disbelief. He had fought in dozens of campaigns, seen mighty enemies fall, seen great empires burn. But never ever had he seen something like this. Deathworlders. That word kept repeating in his mind. It had been only a rumor, a cursed legend spoken. In whispers across trading ports and frontier colonies, a world so dangerous that no species dared to land there. A planet where the air itself tried to kill you, where beasts hunted in packs, where storms ripped apart continents. And from that cursed planet came them, humans. He had seen what they did to his fleet. He had seen how they moved. They did not fight like soldiers. They fought like predators, with speed, precision, and no hesitation. And what terrified him most was their eyes that seemed to look through fire, smoke, and fear as if nothing could stop them. A faint buzz broke. The silence. A transmission was coming through. Sareth leaned forward, his throat dry, and opened the channel. Static first, Then a voice, calm, cold, human. "This is Captain Reyes of the EU's Valiant. Your fleet has been destroyed. Your reinforcements will not arrive in time. Stand down." The words carried no anger, no joy, no triumph, just fact. Simple, heavy fact. Sareth's claws dug into the armrest. You came to a distress call." "Why?" he asked, his voice shaking. There was silence on the other side. Then the human answered, "'Cause we do not ignore cries for help, even when they are not for us." Sareth's throat tightened. This made no sense. They had slaughtered his ships, crushed his fleet like dry leaves underfoot, and now they spoke as if they were saviors. Were these humans savages or guardians? He could not tell. And that was what made them so dangerous. In the shadow of the wreckage, a human boarding ship approached. It clamped onto Sareth's vessel, cutting its way in with practiced efficiency. His crew braced for death, but the humans did not open fire. Instead, they marched in with weapons ready. Helmets reflecting the faint red light of the star, one of them stepped forward. Tall and armored, with a visor that glowed faintly blue. His voice was calm but sharp, like steel being drawn. "You sent the distress call," he said. "Now you will tell us who you were calling and why." Sareth swallowed hard. He wanted to resist, to lie, to protect his people. But when those eyes met his cold, focused, unshaken, his strength broke. His words spilled out. The call was not for us. It was for the Zyrith Dominion. They promised to protect us if we served them. We thought they would send aid. Instead, you came. The human nodded slowly, as if he had expected this answer. Then he leaned closer. "The Dominion will come. When they do, you will stand aside. Because this war is no longer yours." Sareth felt a chill run down his spine. It was not a threat. It was a warning. And he believed it. Hours later, the human fleet regrouped. The Valiant floated like a dark predator among the wrecks, its black hull reflecting the dim star. Inside, Captain Reyes stood with his officers, reviewing the scans. "The Dominion will send a counterfleet," one officer said, "and it will be massive." Reyes nodded. His face was calm, unreadable. "Let them come." The crew exchanged uneasy looks. They had survived the first wave, but the Dominion was known for endless ships, endless armies. Humanity had never faced them directly before. But Reyes stood tall, his voice steady. "We are Deathworlders," he said quietly. "We do not run, we do not break. And if the galaxy wants to test us, then the galaxy will learn why Earth was called a forbidden world." Far away, in the Dominion's core worlds, the distress beacon had reached its masters. Vast council halls of alien warlords shook with fury when they learned what had happened. Their vassal fleets destroyed, their soldiers slaughtered, and worst of all, the humans were back. One warlord struck the table with his clawed fist. "Send the armada, every ship, every gun." But another, older voice spoke from the corner, a voice that carried the weight of memory. "No, do not underestimate them. These are the children of a death world. If they are here, it means they are ready." The word spread through the Dominion like a cold wind. Deathworlders, a name once forgotten, now returned. Nightmare thought buried, now walking in the stars again. Back on the Valiant, Reyes stood by the viewport watching the stars. His second officer approached. "Do you think they'll come for us, sir?" Reyes did not answer at first. His eyes stayed fixed on the endless dark, where new enemies would soon emerge. Finally, he spoke, his voice low, almost a whisper. "They'll come, and when they do, we'll be waiting." The silence of space pressed close again, but this time it carried weight. The wreckage of the alien fleet drifted quietly, a warning. To all who would hear the signal, the distress call had been answered, but not by saviors, by Deathworlders. And now the galaxy knew. The galaxy was changing fast. Rumors of humans spread from one world to another like wildfire. Some called them saviors, others called them monsters. The truth was still hidden, but Every species agreed on one thing where humans arrived. Instead, they traveled deeper into uncharted space, following faint trails left behind by the ones who first sent the distress call. They wanted answers. Who were these desperate aliens? And why had they risked calling for help in such a dangerous region? The human ships moved like shadows, but every captain in the fleet knew they were being watched. Strange signals flickered on their sensors. Unmarked ships stayed far away, as if testing them, studying them. On the command deck of the lead ship Iron Resolve, Captain Hayes stood silent, his eyes fixed on the screen. The signals came and went, too organized to be random. Someone was. "Waiting for them, sir?" his first officer whispered. "If this is an ambush, we may not have enough fuel for retreat." Hayes did not look away. His voice was calm, steady. "Then we will not retreat. We came to learn the truth, and we will not turn back." The crew understood. Fear was there, yes, but mixed with something else. A strange fire burned inside them. Same fire that had frightened the galaxy. Humans were not only survivors, they were explorers. And when danger stood in their path, they moved toward it, not away. Hours passed. The signals grew stronger. Finally, the stars ahead twisted and bent. A massive station appeared out of the darkness, built inside the remains of a dead moon. Surface was scarred by old battles. Weak, broken language, they are asking. The silence in the room was heavy. Finally, Hayes gave the order. "Tell them yes." For a moment, nothing happened. Then, the station's gates opened slowly, like the jaws of some ancient beast. A single message followed. "Enter, but be warned. You may not leave again." The human fleet pushed forward. Inside the station, the truth began to reveal itself. The survivors of a fallen empire lived there, thin, hollow-eyed aliens with scales cracked from hunger and war. They were not warriors anymore, only broken refugees, hiding in the shadows. Their leader, a tall being with silver skin, met the humans in the docking bay. His voice shook as he spoke. "We sent the signal, hoping for rescue. But you are from the Deathworld." The word echoed in the chamber. Many aliens in the crowd stepped back in fear. Hayes did not answer right away. He looked at the faces, the suffering carved deep into them. Finally he said, "If you need help, we will listen. But if you lured us here for some trap, you should. No, we do not die quietly." The alien leader closed his eyes. No trap, only truth. They were led deeper into the station. As they walked through the broken halls, they saw signs of war-burned walls, shattered weapons, bones left unburied. The aliens spoke of an empire that had ruled them with iron claws. They had tried to rebel, but their rebellion failed. Empire destroyed their worlds, leaving only small groups scattered and hiding. "We called for help," the leader said, his voice bitter, "but no one came. Every other race feared the empire. They watched us burn, and now you arrive, humans? The ones the galaxy calls predators. Do you come to finish what the empire started, or will you stand with us?" The question struck deep. The humans did not answer at once. In the silence, the air changed. The lights of the station flickered. Alarms screamed. Ships uncloaked outside. The dead moon, not a few, but hundreds. "They have come to wipe us out." On the human ship, warnings blared. Enemy ships closed from every side. It was the ambush the crew had feared. But Hayes stood tall. Signaled the fleet, formed the line. "We hold." The galaxy would soon learn again, as the worlders did not run. As the Empire's armada surrounded the moon, the humans prepared for battle. The aliens of the station watched in shock. They had expected fear. They had expected surrender. But the humans showed neither. Instead, a cold silence filled the human ships. Weapons armed. Engines roared. For every enemy ship that moved closer, a human gun locked on target. One officer whispered, "Sir, there are too many. We cannot win." Hayes answered quietly, "Then we will fight until none remain." The moment the first shot was fired, the station shook with thunder, and the galaxy would never forget what came next. The battlefield of space was silent. The silence was heavy with fear. Wrecks of alien ships drifted like broken bones, their hulls burning slowly as fire clung to the vacuum. What had once been a proud fleet now looked like a graveyard. The message had already spread, Deathworlders had arrived, and they were unstoppable. Among the survivors, panic grew. Some ships refused to fight any longer and fled into hyperspace. Others tried to regroup, but their commanders whispered to themselves, "I'm sure if they had the courage to face the humans again." The aliens had never seen such violence. They'd studied the humans before, calling them reckless, unstable, primitive. But now, after just a handful of battles, they realized they had underestimated them. Humans did not fight like anyone else. They adapted, they endured, and when cornered, they became monsters. In the command deck of the alien flagship, Azareth, High Commander Rylith gripped the armrests of his chair. His skin twitched, his eyes wide with disbelief. Reports flashed across. His screen squadrons lost in minutes, capital ships reduced to debris, human frigates cutting through their lines like predators tearing through prey. "This is not war," Rylith whispered. "This is slaughter." But retreat was not an option. And when the humans came, it was too late to undo the mistake. Now the Deathworlders were here, answering a call that was never meant for them. On the other side of the battlefield, aboard the human dreadnought, Iron Rain, Captain Hale stood at the center of his bridge. His face was calm, but his crew could feel the weight in his voice. "Target their command vessel," Hale ordered. "No survivors. We finish this tonight." The humans did not laugh. They did not cheer. They fought with a cold, focused silence, as if this was not battle but duty. Their ship fired, tearing through alien armor. The Azareth shook, alarms screaming, crew members shouting in terror, shields collapsing. Cried an alien officer. "Evade." Rylith roared, but deep down, he knew it was useless. Humans did not allow their prey to escape once the hunt had begun. Missiles streaked across the void. The alien flagship's defenses tried to hold, but each second brought more destruction. One by one, compartments broke apart, fires consumed. The corridors and escape pods launched into the black dot in those final moments. Rylith thought of the message they had sent weeks ago, a signal of distress meant to summon allies. If only they had known the humans would come instead. If only they had known that Deathworlders did not answer cries for help with compassion. They came with fire. They came with rage. The final blast from the Iron Rain split the flagship in half. The Azareth burned, its broken body falling into silence. Just another wreck in the graveyard. But even after victory, Hale's face did not relax. His second officer looked at him carefully. "Sir," she asked, "why didn't they surrender?" They knew they had no chance. He turned his eyes toward the stars. Because they believed we were like them. They thought war was a game of honor or survival. They don't understand what we become when we're pushed too far. The crew fell silent, each one remembering Earth's past wars, the scars carried. Across generations, humans had always been fighters, was written in their blood. The galaxy had forgotten this truth, but now they were being reminded, battle after battle. In the ruins, human ships searched for survivors. They collected escape pods, dragging terrified aliens aboard for interrogation. Those captured stared at the humans as if looking at nightmares made flesh. The soldiers moved with precision, their eyes hard, their armor stained from battle. One alien, trembling inside the holding bay, whispered to another, "They are not saviors, they are executioners." Word of the massacre spread across the stars. Fleets far away heard the story and hesitated. Some commanders ordered retreats before ever facing the humans. Others begged the council to reconsider their war. But pride blinded the leaders. They told their people that humans could be crushed, that this was only luck, only chance. Yet fear grew like a disease. Everywhere whispers carried the same warning. Never summon Deathworlders. Back on Earth, messages from the front lines reached the leaders of humanity. Some officials felt pride, but others felt unease. For every victory, the humans left behind ruins and rivers of blood. The council would not forget this. More fleets would come. Stronger fleets. Captain Hale knew it too, as he stood in the dim. The light of his bridge, he told his crew, this war has only begun. And when the galaxy finally understands what we are, they will wish they had never called us. Outside, the wrecks of alien ships continued to drift, glowing softly against the black. The silence of space was heavy, but it carried a message louder than any words. The Deathworlders had arrived. They would not stop. The council chamber was silent, yet the silence was not peace. It was the silence of fear. Reports from the frontier filled the hall, each one darker than the last. The enemy fleets that once hunted across the stars were now broken. The supposed predators who answered the distress signal had become prey themselves. And the reason was simple. The humans had come. The first fleets that fought humanity were now wrecks scattered across dead systems. Armadas that once carried the pride of empires now drifted as shattered hulls. Survivors whispered that fighting humans was not like fighting any other species. They did not retreat when cornered, did not surrender when overpowered. And worst of all, they did not fight for conquest. They fought for each other. That was a force no empire could understand and none could defeat. Ambassador Relth stood. At the center of the chamber, his voice trembling as he repeated the warning, "Do not mistake them for savages. Do not mistake them for desperate survivors. The humans are Deathworlders. But more than that, they are builders. Every defeat we hand them, they rebuild. Every trap we set, they turn against us. Every battle they lose only makes them return. Stronger." The council scoffed, some with anger, others with denial. But their defiance was broken when the chamber doors opened and silence spread like wildfire. A human entered not as a prisoner, not as a spy, but as a messenger. He walked calmly through the chamber, his boots echoing against the stone floor. His eyes scanned the leaders of empires who once thought themselves untouchable. The humans stopped at the council's center. He placed a small device on the floor, and a hologram burst to life. Images of broken fleets, burning worlds, and shattered fortresses filled the air. But then came something far worse, the sight of humanity's growing fleets. Warships, countless and vast, forged from captured wrecks. Rebuilt with alien technology, armed with weapons no one else had dared imagine. The messenger spoke in a steady voice. "You called for help. You sought allies. Instead, you found us. And now, we offer you a choice. Stand with us, or stand against us. If you choose war, remember this. Every fleet you send will be broken. Every empire that resists will fall. The galaxy will not be ruled by fear, but by survival, and humans do not forgive those who prey on the weak." The chamber was filled with heavy silence. For the first time in living memory, the empires of the galaxy felt powerless. They had faced predators before, they had faced conquerors, but never had they faced something like humanity. And in the shadows of the chamber, whispers spread like fire. The distress signal had been a mistake. What had been meant to call saviors had instead unleashed the Deathworlders upon the galaxy. But for many, it was already too late, because the humans were not just responding to a signal, they were reshaping the stars themselves, and the galaxy would never be the same again.